Well, hello everyone. Um, Glad to finally be back. I've been out of pocket for well more than a week. I behind on my video post and I'm behind on my modeling, which I'm finally back into it. My internet connection was down for several days, which really put me way behind. But today I'm going to be working on the weathering decals for the top of the saucer. My last video post, I went ahead and glued this together with epoxy and everything. I just got done a little while ago going ahead and putting one final clear coat of Tester's Gloss clear coat on top of this. I've got it nice and glossy, so it should take the decals really well. And let's take a look at the decals in question. Those are the ones that come with the Deluxe Accessory Set, which I purchased, or you can buy them separately. And there's a picture here on the front that represents that a little bit, but it's a little better picture on the back that shows you what that looks like. Now, these are supposed to approximate the weathering effects that were on the studio model. So let me set this box aside and we'll take a look at the instructions. And what you get for this is weathering decals that take care of the top of the saucer, and they are wedge shaped and individually numbered in the set as starting off with T for top, going from wedge number T1 around to T14, and then the bottom of the saucer is likewise numbered but starting with a B. And then you get other decals, weathering decals that go on in different areas around the ship in terms of some streaks and different things, and some of those are just ones to be put on randomly that are included. Now let's go ahead and look at the decals. I went ahead and pulled out the decals out of their bag, and they all come individually separated with wax paper, which is really nice, but keeps them nicely protected. Now these are all cut out on the stock, so they're individuals. You don't have to go trim them like aftermarket decals, and they're all nicely labeled. Here's the one that starts with that T1, so this is that first wedge piece, and then T2, and then we have on the opposite side T3 and T4, and then we have another weathering decal, one of the small streaks that you put on elsewhere. So this is what they look like up close, and I'm told that on the decal paper here, they're obviously a lot brighter than what they are when you put them down onto the hull, especially when using the recommended color of paint that should match the color of the studio model, and that is the Tamiya Japanese Navy green color, which is this right here, XF12, and you're supposed to take the Tamiya green and add a little bit of white. In my case, I've added some Tamiya flat white to the mix for my hull. So let's just go through these really quick and take a quick look at them and see what they look like. Here's some wedges that don't have so much individual streaks going through them as more larger streaks and colors. They are very nice looking, so I'm looking forward to doing this. I have had some trepidation about putting these on. I've never put on such large decals before in terms of wedges, so this is new to me, and I think it's going to be new to a lot of modelers. There's not a lot of models out there to do this with. There are the Aztec decals for the 1350 refit and for the 1537 Reliant, which has some very large, both those kits for their sizes obviously have large decals. Some of those you can cut up in sections and put them together in subsections. These, however, being large wedges with no really discernible separations for them, I think it's obviously would be best to put them down as whole pieces. Let's go ahead and move through these, and you can see some more of the streak effects. And I guess these are the ones that go on the pylons, because these are rectangular. And then some more wedges and some long streaks. And here's definitely some different ones. This one appears to be shaped to go underneath the fan tail on the ship. Take a quick look over these. And this next sheet is very, very unique in terms of these. And these are all labeled EW6. So let me see if I can see what EW6 is. Okay, the EW series goes around the primary hull, around the saucer, randomly. So that's where those go, and there are 8 of those to go around that. And then, of course, you know, a lot of these other ones, like these, the B series, these are for the underside, wedges for the underside of the primary hull. So there we go. Just a little quick look. There's more of them here, but I want to go ahead and get prepared to start putting them on. So let's go ahead and do that and see what it's going to look like. Before start actually putting on the decals onto the hull, I just wanted to take a moment. I know I've gone over this before, but I just want to do it again to let people know what I use to do the decaling. Of course, to add decals, as you all know, you need some water. And I use plenty of clean paper towels. Paper towel down here on my work surface, because after I put the decal into the water, I take it right back out, set it down here for usually 15 to 30 seconds, depending upon the decal, to where it's ready to slide off, and put it over here, you know, to work with it. You should never soak your decals by just putting them in the water and letting them sit in there, because they will float right off the paper backing. So you should dip them in, hold them in for just a little bit, take them out and set them down. My setting solutions that I use both these 2 products from Microscale Industries. I've had very good success with these. I know there are others out there. Some of my modeling friends also use Solvaset. And I think Testers has a setting solution. I use these Microset for the general work, for setting the decals, and for decals that need to conform around curves or just aren't not going down, like if you have large panel lines and things and you need them to sink down into the panel lines. I come back and use Microsol. So I use these. You should always have a brush around, soft tipped brush. I like using square edge brushes to help move the decal around, also to get water on the surface that you're working with. I don't know if other people do this, but I use toothpicks, the really big thick ones. That helps out. And one of the other important things that's good to have around is some microfiber cloths, clean. I usually use brand new ones when I'm doing a lot of big decal work, and to use them right onto to clean the hull. I use one for cleaning and dusting the hull off. The other one I use to help tap up a little bit of the excess water and things when putting those down. One of the other things I wanted to go over real quick is people talk about the issue of the rust rings, and whether or not, like in this black and white image of the model kit, I assume that's what that is, that round 2 is printed on there. People discuss whether or not they were really on there or not, and I'm not going to get into the arguments about whether or not they were on there, but I am going to load up one of my galleries of collected photographs of the studio model and diagrams and other things, because I have here, if I can find it, let's see, a photograph of the model before it was restored at the Smithsonian, or for the Smithsonian. This is when it was first disassembled for restoration purposes. And I'll pull up this one right here. And you can see in this photograph the actual weathering patterns and things that were on the model. That's the top of the saucer, of course. And here's a close-up of one of the window sections, these lights like this one right here on the model, and you can see the colorization on the weathering. And in this photograph you can actually see the notorious pencil lines that were on the, in this case the top of the saucer, indicating the grid lines on there. And I'm not going to get into that argument whether they were there or not, because you know, apparently they were there, but it's not really important at this stage. And here's another photograph that shows you the rust lines and things on the weathering and the rust band that was on the top of the saucer. And let's see if there's anything else here that not that one, that I can show you. I can show you this photograph of the Enterprise in its original pilot version format before it was ever delivered to the studio. This was the gentleman who built it, and you can see the model they took right outside their shop on the street at the sidewalk and took a photograph of that. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and cut this one decal out, so let me go ahead and do that, and I'll get right back with you in just a moment. Well, actually I'm going to go ahead and cut T1, T2, and 3 and 4 out from the sheet, and we're going to go ahead and position them down on the hull just to see what they'll look like. Now then, I'm going to be starting with T1, so that demarcation line for that is right here with that bow light, and we'll go T1, 2, 3, and 4. And just to give you an example, I've roughly cut them out and laid them down on to the hull. This is T1 right here, to give you an idea of what that's going to look like and how the patterns will line up. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this one. Make sure that your hull is cleaned. In this case I used a microfiber cloth, wiped everything down really good. Use your air compressor if you have a airbrush, and blow it clean for and your workbench. Make sure all the dust is off. That'll give you much better results on there. Now these, as I said before, are rather large, so it's going to take a little bit of an effort to get these down in place. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wet this section of the hull right here, and I'm going to go ahead and put my decal into the water and then let it set here on the paper towel for a few seconds. Make sure, even if you've done other decals, it's always a good idea to make sure you read the instruction sheet from the manufacturer. They'll give you little clues about how to put decals down, and majority of everything is the same in all the processes of doing it on any kit, but it's always a good thing to make sure you read through them and understand any potential issues and the exact layout that they go down in. It's very important that these decals go down in the order that they're prescribed to. They're not just a random pattern, because to get all the streaks and everything to line up correctly, you've got to put them down in order. Okay, I've gone ahead and added a couple drops of dishwashing detergent into the water, which will help out in the process of moving the decal around. And I'm going to go ahead and use some of that water, and I'm going to go ahead and start brushing some onto the hull. Now, this is not an exact science, so how much you put on there is really going to be dependent upon what you think is going to be good enough. I know some people put a tremendous amount. I've seen others put a lot less. I personally like to cover it quite nicely, because I like to be able to slide the decal around a lot. Now, as I said, I've never used, well, I shouldn't say I've never put decals this large before onto any of my projects, so this is a first for me. So when you go to cut these decals out, make sure you Make sure you keep the number on there so you're confident that you've got the right one first, and the first decal lines up with the bow light, and it's just to the left of the bow light. So before I put this decal into the water, I'm going to go ahead and cut that number off. And I'm going to dip it in there and hold it in for a few seconds. Maybe 5-10 seconds. Just like that. And now I'm going to take it out and set it here on the paper towel I have next to it. And let it sit there for a few seconds. Now let me check the decal and see, and it is loose, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it up here onto the hull, and I'm going to gently pull the decal back, and I'm going to make sure I've got plenty of water up underneath of it for adjusting purposes. I'll pull it out, pull the paper backing out, dispose of that, and now we're going to go ahead and see about adjusting it onto the hull. Pull it over on the front side first, and then I'm going to lift it up a little bit in the back and adjust it over. Now in this case, I'm lining this decal up to the edge of the front of the saucer. And this is one good thing that the grid lines come in handy for, is for lining this up nicely. Pull it back, add just a little bit more water underneath. It's really not too humid today, so this is evaporating faster than what I'd like. And I'm going to adjust it back and then pull it forward slightly to get and I'm going to, because it's so large, I'm actually going to use my fingers a lot to stretch it out. This is actually quite a bit of work. As I said, I've never used decals this large before, so. But I think the alignment's almost there. Pull it back from the front of the hull. Adjust it on the rear and bring it right up to the edge. right there. And what I find interesting is I can tell that this doesn't exactly match the wedge of the grid line. So I hope when I get this all the way around, I'm assuming there's going to be a little bit of an overlap that can be trimmed or something, and I hope I end up not having a gap. But that's overall, I think that looks pretty good. Let me get the camera up and bring it around over here so you can see what it looks like. Now I need to tap the excess water off of there and see. Do that ever so gently. And now use some setting solution and we'll see how that looks. Okay, I've gone ahead and laid down 2 of them on there, and I'm going to have to wait and see when they dry to see how they're going to end up looking. Right now I'm not overly pleased with the look of these decals, so my test bed is going to be the first one, third one, and second one, and I'm going to let that set up and dry thoroughly and put some microsol on there and see if they'll suck down really good into the thin grid lines, and go back, and after that's all done and they're thoroughly dried, I'm going to go back and put a top coat, clear coat on top of them and see if they blend in. Because right now I think they're too light colored, they're not clear, and I have to wait and see how that ends up looking. Obviously it's hard to tell until they thoroughly dry and the setting solution does its job and you put a clear coat on top of them to tell exactly how that's going to look. But we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully I'll change my mind. If not, and this doesn't work out, I will sand them off. I will remove them, sand them, strip them, do something, and probably do a little primer and repaint this section of the hull and everything and get it back to normal, and use my airbrush to do some of the streaking on here to give some of that weathering effect. But you know, I want to give these a good try and see how they work out. While I'm laying down more decals, I decided to go ahead and continue. And as I lay them down, I'm marking them off here to make sure that I keep track of all the appropriate numbered ones and everything, and I don't get anything mixed up. So right now, I just laid down number 10. It's got a long ways to go in terms of drying and setting with setting solution and everything, and microset and microsol products. So I need to go ahead and mark that one off, but I can give you an idea of what it's starting to look like. I am still hoping this is going to turn out okay. As I said before, this is the first time I've ever used any type of decals like this, and I'm following the normal procedures that's always worked for me before, so I hope these work out really well. It's still left to be seen. I've got all the decals on except this one right here, which I'll be doing in a few minutes after this one here dries some, and I can put some microsol on it. Different wedges at the moment have different levels of microsol on them in terms of conformity to the hull. This one back here still needs to be trimmed around this deck piece. I should not have glued that on. If you're going to put these on, you should go ahead and leave that off, put them down, then glue it on. I mean, it's not that big of an issue to put the decal down, just do a little trimming around there, but it just goes faster if you don't put that piece on. You do have to cut around these lights. I suppose I could have went ahead and done the decals and then done this, but the way these are epoxied in and everything with my alterations to the lighting system, It makes it a little bit more difficult. You have to do a little cross cut here to get it to set the decal to set flush and everything, like over here on this side. But you can do it. It's not that big of an issue. And then with the microsol, it'll help everything conform nicely and suck everything down as it dries. I still have more to put on here, more microsol to put on, but overall it's looking quite nice. And I think when I go and put a dull coat over the top of this to seal it up, I think it's really going to blend it in. So I guess I may have to change my mind about using these huge decals on the ships like this. Now you can see here where the microsol has gone ahead and set the decal down into the panel lines, the grid lines, and here I need to add more to get it to set over here. You can still see them. It's not set in, but here it's already set down in place. So that does work. And overall the weathering effect is really not that bad at all. It's not that dark, and I think it may turn out looking really nice. So I may be a convert to this this issue of using full decals on the big 1350 Enterprise E here, and maybe even on the refit. I have yet to try that in relation to the refit. So let me go ahead and get this one on here, and then we'll put another coat. I'll put a whole nother coat of microsol on, let this sit overnight, and tomorrow I'll see what it looks like. Now real quickly, I just want to point out, because I just put some microsol right onto this piece right here, and this kind of, you can see these little wrinkles that popped up. Don't try to fix that when that occurs, because what's going to happen is the microsol is going to dry. I mean, as the decal dries, the microsol is going to pull that down. It's going to suck those wrinkles down. Those weren't there until I brushed on the microsol, and then it lifted up slightly. But as it dries, the microsol product will pull that down and everything and make that lay flat. Just wanted to point that out. So if you're laying on decals and you see that happen, don't try to fix it, because it'll fix itself just as it sets up. Okay, this is set up overnight, and I just wanted to show everyone what it looks like. I just got done touching up a couple little areas with some more microsol where I had a little bit of a problem, but overall I'm pretty happy with the way this has turned out. I was really worried that I may get some silvering or other issues with such large decals, and it really has turned out much better than what I anticipated it was going to. So I guess I'm a convert. I guess I will be happy to use these. It was an interesting little challenge, but they do look really nice, and I have to say, at this point I would recommend them for modelers to use. They are really nice, and they do add subtle weathering marks that is very much just like airbrushing them on, and that looks really nice. So next time, hopefully, I'll get the registry stuff done on here and everything, and be moving on to finishing up the decals on the underside and on the edges here, and hopefully I'll be able to show you that work done next time. So thanks for watching, everyone, and happy modeling.